Excellencies, distinguished delegates, we will now proceed with the roundtable on whole society approach to building agile statistical systems. May I invite distinguished speakers and the moderator for this discussion to take their seats. Our distinguished speakers for this roundtable are Ms. Haishan Fu, Chief Statistician, World Bank and Director of the Development Data Group of World Bank Group, Ms. Lisa Grace Bersales, Executive Director, Vice Commission on Population and Development, Philippines, Mr. Seyong Park, Director of Strategy and Innovation for World Vision's East Asia Regional Office, Mr. Alfian Manullang, Vice President of Data Solutions of Telkomsel, Indonesia. This panel will be moderated by Ms. Prim Rajasurang Wongkrasaemongkol, Youth Advocate and an AI Engineer. I will now pass over to Ms. Prim to moderate the roundtable. Madam, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, welcome everyone to what promises to be an insightful and dynamic roundtable discussion on the adopting of the whole society approach to build an agile statistical system. My name is Prim Rajasurang Wongkrasaemongkol, and it's my privilege to be your moderator for this session, to dive into the critical role of statistics and data for this across all diverse stakeholders to harness the full potential of data in the today's most pressing challenges. Data is power, data is treasure, and sharing data is sharing prosperity and partnership and collaboration for an inclusive and equitable data for a sustainable world that leaves no one behind. Transparency data leads to insightful decision, and inclusive data make an inclusive policy and inclusive action. And in earlier panel, we heard from government leaders about the significance of the whole of government approach to build an agile and responsive statistical systems. And now we shift to a broader ecosystem, to engaging the voices beyond government, to the voices of the academia, private sector, civil societies, and beyond, to diverse perspectives of how we collectively action and revolutionize the way we share data, we create data, and use it to drive better decisions and outcome for all. And our speakers will delve into how traditional and non-traditional data can be disseminated to address complex, multifaceted issues, to enrich our standing, and also empowering evidence-based decision-making. We will also explore how data not only guide policy, but play a critical role in attracting investments for data, shaping business strategies, and advancing research across disciplines. And we also spotlight new opportunities for new statistical systems to expand their reach and also engage with stakeholders for them to bring hope, to bring actions, and to bring inclusive decision-making and add the value to the society. For this roundtable, I will introduce each speakers and we'll ask them 3 rounds of questions. So let's begin. Our first speaker is Ms. Haishan Fu, and she is the Chief Statistician of the World Bank and the Director of the World Bank Development Data Group. She leads the development and the implementation of the World Bank data agenda. And before joining the World Bank, she worked at the UNDP, and she was also the Director of the Statistical Division here at the UNSCAP. From your perspective of a development partner, how can we harness the data from traditional sources and non-traditional sources to create a richer and more comprehensive understanding of complex issues?
Thank you very much. It's really great to be back. Actually, sitting here reminded me about 14, 15 years ago at such a gathering, one of the chief statisticians openly asked, the demand for data to be produced by us is increasing so fast, and we are just having this much resources. So how can we cope and how can we respond? Indeed, our development challenges are becoming more and more complex. We're really in need of data, not only just descriptive, but also predictive, and also becoming increasingly prescriptive. So that the answer to the question is we must hold tight to strengthen our national statistical system, but also going beyond. This is also why in the WDR, World Development Report 2021, Data for Better Lives, we made it very clear that we believe the public intent data produced predominantly by government statistical system remains fundamental to development. But at the same time, private intent data that increasingly in the hand of private sectors are holding huge potential. But it's really when they're combined could yield the kind of unprecedented insight that we really need. That's also why in the report we put forward a vision of an integrated national data system, as you call a whole of government agile statistical systems. In this digital age, that requires a whole set of enabling conditions and safeguards. That means together we must work really collaboratively to evolve effective data governance. That means that we not only have the right infrastructure, digital infrastructure that build in the interoperability of data from different sources, but also have the right laws and regulations to help safeguard how data are being shared and used across all the data stakeholders. And we also need to have the right economic policy to level the playing field, and at the same time to really invest in the institutional and human capacity so that we can leverage those new technology, new data sources, and generate those new insights. We're not just at the digital age, we're actually at unstoppable AI age. That means that there's so many countries and people are still remaining on the wrong side of the AI divide and digital divide. That's why at the World Bank, we recognize how important it is for us to work with countries to scale up investment, to build this effective data governance conditions so that we can make sure what you call the traditional and non-traditional data can be leveraged to support country and development for the inclusive future we need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fu, for your insightful perspectives on sharing data governance collaboration and then to combine different data sources to create a greater impact. Our second speaker is Ms. Lisa Grace as Bersales. She is the Undersecretary for Population and Development at the Philippines, heading the Commission on Population and Development. And she was the first national statistician of the Philippines from 2014 to 2019, as is currently a professor of statistics at the University of the Philippines. From your perspective, how can we harness data from traditional and non-traditional sources to create a richer, more comprehensive understanding of complex issues?
Thank you very much. From my perspective, we harness data from various sources by holding regular conferences to discuss these complex issues and how traditional and non-traditional data can be used to address them. It is very important for national statistics offices to lead or co-organize or to participate in these various forums and conferences. These could be conferences for big groups or for smaller groups, both international, national, and subnational levels. More important now is the subnational level discussion. Examples of big groups are conferences and research conferences or sectoral conferences discussing various issues of the country, but also the ones that include global perspectives. While small groups are interagency committees. Our national statistician, Dennis Mapa, shared earlier our interagency committees, where we discuss the issues that come out of these big conferences that need to be addressed by smaller groups. So these smaller groups could be those that are policy making for data, or they're actually the technical working groups that develop new methodologies using both traditional and non-traditional data. Usually the big conferences are where you will hear the demands and the requirements of various stakeholders, both in government and outside. And the smaller groups are where the National Statistics Offices lead in answering those demands using technical issues and data concerns. If I may share with you, in the Philippines, for example, and this is where the concern of my office now, when the PSA produces population projections and they have consultation meetings, these are the big conferences I refer to, the stakeholders will immediately ask for more granular population projections. And these demands are then sent to our Interagency Committee on Population and Housing Statistics, addressed by the TWG on population projections, where academics and private sector participate. It is very important that the NSOs lead these big conferences and small conferences. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bersales, for sharing your perspective on different conferences and how you have consultation to address the diverse demands of the stakeholders. And our third speaker is Mr. Seyong Park, but we'll move into as a civil society, who is also the Director of Strategy and Innovation for World Vision East Asia Regional Office. He has been with World Vision since 2011 and previously worked with Seyong Securities, Goldman Sachs, and McKinsey & Company. He is also a chartered financial analyst. Working for a civil society organization, it would be interesting if you could share your perspective on how can we harness data from traditional and non-traditional sources to create a richer and more comprehensive understanding of these complex issues.
Thanks. From NGO perspective, the starting point would be strengthening partnership across the sectors for the collaboration. We still think that the data from the NSO is still most reliable and consistent data source. But for certain areas, like us NGOs or private sectors or academia can contribute to provide the data. So let me give you an example. So we are using CPI and PPI data from the NSO to understand the trends of the inflation. But often, NGOs like us, we are doing the market survey for the pricing to understand the impact of the inflation on the vulnerable communities, right? And then I guess the retail companies in the private sector, they are also doing real-time measuring their pricing trend. So if these data are combined together, I believe they provide more holistic perspective to understand the trends of the inflation. But for this collaboration, I think we need some kind of open, accessible platform. Again, NGO like us, we have very limited budget and the staff, right? So we hope to have different options for the data contribution. It could be easy things like just providing links to our data source. But ideally, it would be better if there are open platforms where we can easily access and contribute the data. But again, due to the limited budget and staff, we need a capacity building for us. And at the same time, we need a clear guideline how we can contribute to the data. And finally, we are living in a world like a lot of individuals contributing to the data, right? I mean, YouTube and Instagram would be a good example, right? I think it's same for the data contribution. Data could be contents, right? So, but I think the key is how we can incentivize those data contribution, right? And NGO like us, we want to see how our contribution can link to the policy influence and impact on the communities, right? So if there is any way we can showcase that clear link between our contribution and the influence and impact, I think that would be a great way to harness the data.
Thank you very much, Mr. Park, for your response. Open, accessible platforms where NGO can contribute their data with more capacity building and also incentivizing and a clear link of how this link to the policy and decision making to make it more inclusive. And next we will move to the private sector perspective. And our fourth speaker is Mr. Alfian Manullang. He is the Vice President of the Data Solutions at Telkomsel, Indonesia. He oversees the telco big data analytics, offering solutions to sectors such as financial institutions, government, and e-commerce. Amongst other things, he also played a key role in Telkomsel's Innovation Center and collaborating with startups in IoT and digital product space. In your role in private sector with an extensive background in innovation, can you share your perspective on how can we harness data from traditional and non-traditional sources for a richer and more comprehensive understanding of complex issues?
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation from United Nations, Ms. Rika. I think I don't know whether I'm the only one that from private sector in this room, but I'll give you what is our perspective, right? Okay, I'm from Telkomsel. We are the biggest telecommunication operator, cellular and also fixed right now in Indonesia. We have around 160 million customers and around 10 million fixed broadband at home. So we capture around at least 50% of the market share in Indonesia. So we produce around 50 petabytes data per day, one day 50 petabytes, and we process transaction 1 trillion transaction internet per day. So you can imagine how big the data, right? So what are I think I'm more like talking about the use cases, right? So we work with, as you said, with government of Indonesia, from Indonesia National Statistics Office like BPS. We work financial services and also private sector as well. So the one that we solve currently with our data, Indonesia is 50% of the population is unbanking, right? So actually, how then both government and also private sector to address to empower our small medium enterprise, how then they can have a loan credit facility. So actually, in a bank, it is formal. Then the bank need to assess the 5C, right? The character, the capacity, the capital, collateral, and this condition. So actually, those 50% does not have the data, right? So actually, then how to solve it? So actually, this financial institution, they have to use the alternative data. So what is the alternative available? One of them is actually telco data, right? So this is available. We are providing we are not selling data. We provide data and insight. What we provide is actually an insight for these, organizations, right? So actually, mimicking this 5C, like what is the character? Your payment, it's about your history, right? Your payment history. Then actually, how you pay your billing, telco billing. And then Indonesia is 97% is prepaid. Actually, how then your prepaid top up? Is it when you are out of due date or before or after, right? So, and about the capital as well. Then how is your capability? How is your spending? You are only spending voice or SMS? For internet, is it representing also about your internet literacy? Or you are purchasing some valued services? Is it a video? Is it a music? Is it something else, a digital content that they are consuming? And then about the character, right? The character, the capacity, the capital, then about your ARPU, is your spending income, and also the collateral. How then we can predict that, mimic that, by seeing that the type of mobile phone that you are using, we able. So actually, this kind of information that usually required by financial institution or banking, then it can be replaced with this alternate data. Then actually, then the loan, the lending can be disbursed into this target segment, right? So actually, this is the things that we are solving in terms of financial institution with our National Statistical Office. What we have done in the last 5 years, actually, we are using the MPD when we are calculating some of these, tourism statistic, national tourism. So actually with the mobile device positioning, movement of the people, previously it's very manual, counting people in the airport, terminal, sea, harbor, then actually you can use this because everybody now handling the mobile phone, right? So actually by replacing those manual into more data approach driven, then actually the benefit is it is fast, more faster. You get the data and also more accurate as well. And also in the terms of cost effective, actually it is really saving our national spending as well. So I think that's kind of benefit that can be reaped by this organization. Either it is government or it's the private sector as well. Yeah, I think that's my point of view. Great, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Manullang, for sharing your insights on actually helping the financial institutions, getting data from alternating sources, and then providing loans, and also have a faster, cost-effective measures of collecting data, and then helping the citizens, to the small businesses, to everyone that needs the data the most. So thank you to our speakers for sharing their different perspective in the first round of questions. And now we will proceed to the second round of questions, where this time we'll ask about how National Statistics Office can attract more investment for data to inform business strategies. So first, we would like to start with Ms. Bersales. From your perspective, what can national offices do to attract more investment for data to inform business strategies and to contribute to research?
For me, investment for data includes additional funding for NSOs for their budget, but also provision for more capable statistics officers and technical staff. And I emphasize statistics officers, the need for capable statisticians. And also, investment will include support to produce research and innovation. Whole of society approach is needed. This is the way to go. To take advantage of this approach, NSOs need to regularly engage with non-government stakeholders to give the message of the need for support of these types of investment. Non-government stakeholders can provide additional investments, but they can also be the voice of the statistical system to demand government to provide the resources needed by NSOs, especially through budget from government. For me, additional investment from non-government stakeholders will augment what government should provide for NSOs. This has always been my message. The provider of the budget of NSOs should be the government. So how will NSOs give that message? Through champions, through the voice of champions. So academia actually have budgets for research. NSOs can talk to academia. These are the research we need. How do we put together traditional and non-traditional for official statistics? The research question can be given to the academics, and the universities can provide research funding. Universities now actually subscribe to the SDGs as their framework. In my experience, the rankings of universities include SDGs. So in the Philippines, for example, Philippine universities are ranked according to how they support SDGs. Thus, academics, universities provide funding for them to really provide research and even academic programs to support SDGs. Also, research institutions can provide additional research investments. In the Philippines, for example, we have the Philippine Statistical Research and Training Institute, and they actually provide their own funding for government agencies that request for the need for them to answer certain statistics questions. The private sector is a very important support, as mentioned already. to augment the traditional data provided by the National Statistical System. But for me, NSOs really need to engage with the legislature. They have the power of the purse, and they can be the providers. But the demands from other stakeholders must reach legislature, and this is where media is a very important champion. In my experience, another group that needs to be engaged with are professional societies. So in the Philippines, we have the Philippine Statistical Association. These are statisticians, both in government, in academia, in private sector. We meet and we discuss what are the data needs of the country and how non-traditional data can be used by statistics, by official statisticians. We also have social science societies, and they are very good as well as champions in demanding for government to provide data. We have the Philippine Population Association. So there are a lot of these professional societies that can again be the voice for statistics offices to be provided by government with the needed resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bersales, for your response. As we can engage other stakeholders to advocate and actually be the champions for National Statistics Office to have more investment and to address their diverse demands. That's really interesting. And now we will move on to Mr. Park. Mr. Park, could you please share your perspective on how National Statistics Offices attract more investment?
Yeah. So to harness the data, to leave no one behind, I think there's a process from the data collection to the use of the data, right? And then I think the NSS role can evolve mainly from the data provisions to the kind of problem-solving leaders across the entire process. And I talked about how the NSO can help in terms of like a platform and partnership and then the communities earlier. But I think there are also opportunities in later part of the data usage. For NGO like us, we are using the data from NSO to develop our strategy and planning, right? And we are using that for the funding allocation and programming choice and footprint optimization, right? Then I think it's important for the NSO to understand what are the needs of the end users, right? For example, we're looking more into the climate change and migration, so that maybe NSO can help to develop some of the data for that kind of emerging area. I think the other possible idea is that how to improve the user experience, right? If we go to the NSO data, we know that there are a lot of data available there, right? But for some people, it's not easy to find the right data to build the perspective, right? So maybe some advanced tools like queries and machine learning and advanced search engine help end users to identify right data to make the right decisions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Park, for having platform partnerships, but also getting the right data for the right decision to help NGOs and collaborating with NSO, also having the data for climate change, for gender equality from diverse perspectives. And now we'd like to move on to Mr. Manullang. For the private sector perspective, can you please share how do NSO attract more investment for data to inform business strategies and contribute to the research?
Okay, I just want to elaborate what Mr. Park already telling. Since I'm from the field, so I'm talking about the use cases, right? So the use cases that we have been implementing, like with NSO, is actually, besides providing insight for this National Statistics Office, also we work with local government. Let's say one of them is in Sabang. Sabang is very west of Indonesian part, Aceh, Sabang. So actually, we work with the local government over there, and actually, they need the insight actually. Okay, where are the origin from the tourism coming from? Whether is it local or is it international tourists? Okay, foreigner, right? So actually, we provide insight, and then actually, they know from which province actually they are coming, how much the length of stay that they are afraid they are staying in this location, and actually, as well, actually, what are the future or the feedback coming from this local? So they can have like every one of the tourism that coming to this area, Sabang, to get interview. Actually, we deploy what we call it a digital survey. Later on, after they are visiting, let's say after 2 or 3 days, then they send a survey. What will be what is their experience? Like Marcel, what is the common experience? What are the facilities that's still lacking in this area? What are the attraction and the activity that they want to have? And what are the things that want the food and beverage things? What are the services? So they get the insight, and actually what are the spending as well? How much they spending it, and at the end, actually, for the local government, they can track. If they Sabang targeting 1 million visitor every year, then actually from every month, how is the achievement? So they can do what are the necessary action to increase the visitor to their area, actually. So that kind of information that we provide is really insightful. We work with them. In the other area as well, like in West Sumatra, there is area in Bukit Tinggi, Jam Gadang is like Big Bang in London, but a small version in Jam Gadang. This area is very open area. They want to count how many visitor, because they are not non-ticketing, without ticket. So how many visitor that in this geospatial area that they want to count. So actually with that, it is a possibility that can be happening through the telco data. That previously it's very hard doing manual, even with human, but with this data that provided by this private sector, that it is possible. So every measurement, every target, it more measurable and can be tracked and can be improved along the way, depend on what are the performance that's happening in this current month or date. Yeah, I think that's some of the example that we are already implementing in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manullang, for sharing your perspective on a very practical example of how data, non-traditional data, and then mobile phone data, and then how we can have a granular data that can create more insights and statistics to the place that we cannot find the data themselves. And now let us move on to hear from Ms. Fu. From your perspective, what can National Statistics Office do to attract more investment for data to inform business strategies and to contribute to research?
Thank you. Yeah, we need more data, we need more resources, but we also need more efficient use of the resources we have. First, we need to really enhance the value of data we generate by sharing it properly. Second is that we need to demonstrate that we can indeed respond to the new policy need for data through innovation and collaboration with different stakeholders. For example, yesterday, the DES mentioned that 3 priorities for data that we need. Data for demographic transition, data for digital transformation, and data for climate change. My colleague reminded me to understand transition, change, and transformation. We need information to allow us to really track the evolution. And this requires different kind of data. One is the longitudinal type of data most countries don't have. Could we indeed invest in generating new measurement and new data in this regard? This is only one example of how we demonstrate our relevance. But in terms of data sharing, it's very important that we share data of the quality needed and with the information, the metadata required. So our data would be interoperable and accessed and AI ready. Yesterday at the management seminar discussions, we mentioned to amplify the value of our data. We increasingly rely on third-party big tech companies' redistribution of our data. Well, their AI applications might have done part of the job. There are also embedded deficiencies. Part of that deficiency is because we don't share our data with the right metadata quality embedded in how they could read in to their AI application. So there's a whole need for us to make sure that we have the right standard, the right tools, and the innovative approaches to allow us to really amplify and increase the value of data we generate. Therefore, there will be incentives for more investment in the data we can provide. And here I want to really stress that this is no better time now than working with the bank to help invest in the country data systems. Just in the last 4 years, there's already $1.9 billion of lending and grant committed to support improvement in statistical system in low and lower middle income countries. At the same time, there's $2.4 billion committed or invested in helping countries to improve their digital public infrastructure. I think for the 1.9 million, only 700 has been dispersed. So there's still money that not yet fully allocated. That requires us to work with countries to understand the real priority of investment so that we can help countries' statistical system to make use of those resources, but also more importantly, to use UI and new technology to improve the efficiency of our data processes so that we can make better use of the available resources.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fu, for your great insights on how we can also, national statistics offices can collaborate with the bank to get data that can amplify the voice, the value of the data that we collected, and then using to enhance efficiency and maximizing our resources in national statistic offices. And then it's a great round that we can hear from all our stakeholders, from academia, civil society, NGO, private sectors, and also the developing partners, on how actually all of us, our stakeholders, and all of us will attract more investment for National Statistics Office, how we can better our lives together. And now we will turn on to the next round of exciting question on the contribution. This is the time that we will ask about what would you be your recommendation to the head of National Statistics Office that we're looking forward to engage stakeholders beyond government. So first we will start this round with Mr. Park. What one suggestion would you make to National Statistics Office who is looking to engage stakeholders beyond government?
Yes. Maybe because World Vision is NGO focusing on children, I think there is a huge opportunity to engage with the young generation, right? We are living in a world where people are getting information from social medias, and sometimes our young generation, they are using those data without validation, right? To build their perspective and for their decision making. And I think the NSO can play a critical role to help them, young generation, to understand the importance of the data and how to use data for their decision making. Let me give you some example because I'm from Korea. I saw that like Korea's statistics office, they're doing student poster competition. And I know this because my own son participated in the competition 2 years ago. And I could see that how he learned to use the data, and then with the data, how to amplify the voice for our own society, for the climate change action, right? So I'm pretty sure other countries have similar initiatives, but I think this kind of initiative will help our young generation to use the data for their decision making. So again, in summary, I strongly believe that NSO can play a critical role to grow and develop our future leaders for each country.
Thank you, Mr. Park, for your response. And it's really important to equip the children and the youth of our generation as well to understand the data we get from social media, from every single day, from the news. Are they accountable? Are they reliable? Are they trustworthy? And how we can amplify the voices and use data-driven decision-making at every single stage of our development, at every single industry, to learn better of how we can maximize our production, uplift people's lives. And next we will hear from Mr. Manullang. As a private sector, what one suggestion would you make to the head of National Statistics Office who is looking to engage stakeholders beyond government?
I think the head of NSO should understand where this private sector sit, right? Yeah, put yourself in their shoes because we are commercial organization, right? So we do something good, but not everything like CSR. But it's a philanthropy, right? So at least we can cover our cost. It's good that, of course, it is good we help our country, like Telkomsel. Our profit or commercial is currently coming from the private sector, but at least for government, it is like something better cost, because I said previously we produce 50 petabytes data per day, right? 1 trillion transaction. When you store it, you incur some cost to it, right? And then you requested some sandbox to it, right? You have a compute power, you have processing memory, then it is not for free, right? Every time you process the data with that kind of huge information, if you take a look on whatever cloud hyperscale, Google, AWS, then there are costs associated with it, right? So somebody has to bear the cost, but that's why we have to sit down together and then really, because the data is there, then actually not only data, how we make use of it, what are the proper technology as well, because if you are not correctly selecting the appropriate, then your cost will be higher. So we have to set the right technology, the right mindset, the mechanism algorithm, right? Because AI, ML to be incorporated, and of course not to forget, everything that we do is privacy by design, right? So how we anonymize the data, we are not leaking, as PII, right? So every information is really within the corridor of law and our regulation. So we have to really sit down together, understand, and then to work it out. And then, of course, there are some benefit. We are working also with the UNOPS. It's a pro bono project for DISA, disaster management. Actually, how we learn, this from humanitarian project, we built how our data can really help, poverty, but then we can extend it, the use case that we built together with UN to other commercial sector. So it's a learning process that we benefit, but the other end, we can monetize it to other sector that really will use it, right? So actually, it is a joint project. We learn together, we experiment from that, then actually from the knowledge that we get, then we can extend it to some other private commercial sector. I think that's the kind of how we are really looking at, and then we can continue how we collaborate this public-private sector partnership together. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Manullang, for sharing your ideas on how we can have public-private partnership that creates a win-win situation for everyone. And now let's move on to World Bank for Ms. Fu. What one suggestion would you make to a head of National Statistics Office who is looking to engage stakeholders beyond government?
Thank you. First of all, I want to applaud ASCAP. You're already engaging beyond government, especially with a youth leader sitting right next among us. The future is yours. The whole of government data system is going to be in your hands. So I'm really glad this is a real, engagement in practice. Two quick ideas. One is by supporting together with UN agencies, Power Our Data initiative, we support countries to national statistical agencies to engage with other data stakeholders in the countries, including academia, civil societies, and the private sectors, for us to really help a country and us to fully understand what would be the investment priorities in countries. I think that engagement itself will help also shape up how we will further adapt our financing and technical support models to support countries, particularly in terms of fostering that engagement and integrated data relationship. Second is that we, along with 12 other international development agencies from IMF, regional development banks, OECDs, and UNDPs, and so on and so forth, have been developing a development data partnership with now more than 30-some private companies through harmonized master legal agreement and secured IT platform to see what kind of data that we can access that pro bono shared by private companies. This could be from big companies as big as Meta, LinkedIn, Google, to smaller new startups that are generating and sharing or distributing geospatial remote sensing type of data, or transport companies. But that's only a start. I think by relying on pro bono and goodwill-based data sharing can allow us to go just that far. I think we haven't yet figured out how to best engage with private sectors beyond just the goodwill and respecting your business bottom line, but also understanding what would be the right economic incentive and social responsibility balance that allow us to be sustainably, reliably tapping into the data in your hands for the different challenges we face. So that experience we're gathering, we hope, through the lessons learned and the knowledge we gained, we can also bring to our countries to help that kind of engagement and partnership building and new relationship development. But more importantly, to explore what would be the most viable model in this more connected data system.
Thank you, Mr. Fu. And then we can see the critical role of the development partners and also developing agencies, the UNSCAP and all the agencies that can come together. And then you can also join the development data partnership that they engage with private sectors. And then this would be a public, a private, we have partnership, and also with development partners, civil society, and beyond. And now we would move on in terms of academia to Ms. Bersales. From your perspective, what can National Statistics Office do to attract more people, and also what one suggestion would you have?
Actually, my recommendation is very specific to the national statistician or the chief statistician. It is very simple. Be visible. Do regular press conferences on official statistics. Engage with media, emphasizing the NSO's mandate of providing the data and information for the country, but emphasizing openness to the use of non-traditional data sources to help address data gaps, to address granularity and timeliness. Participate in forums with private sector, academia, CSOs, the youth, especially sectoral forums, education, health, labor, migration, disaster, climate change, women. However, this advice is a double-edged sword. When you become visible, you are prone to more demands and attacks at credibility of official statistics. So you have to be prepared as well on how to communicate and engage well. Also, I would like to mention that national statisticians should be able to say no without offending. Not all of the data demands of the country can be provided by the Statistics Office. For example, the one mentioned by Haishan on longitudinal data. My office is the one leading the Philippines on helping usher demographic dividend in the Philippines, looking at demographic transitions, including our forecast to become an aging society. So there is a need for us to have longitudinal data, and we are not asking the Philippine Statistics Authority to provide it because that's not, for me, part of their mandate. So what is being done, because the PSA convenes various stakeholders in big conferences and small conferences that I mentioned earlier, there is recognition of those demanding these granular data that the PSA cannot provide all of this. So now, we actually have two very good longitudinal data. We have the longitudinal data on young Filipinos, started in 2016, before COVID. And they started looking at 10-year-olds. in 2016. Now they're older after COVID. And there's a lot of information that we are happy with, but we worry about. And this will continue until they become age 19. This is not done by the Statistics Office. This is done by a university with support from UNFPA. Another is, look into the little data on aging Filipinos. So isn't that exciting? We have this data that also started in the early, middle 2015, also before COVID. So we have information on the status of aging and older Filipinos. And this is not done by the Statistics Office. This is done by another university with support from a development partner. So be visible, but be ready with an engaging way of saying, no, that is not part of our mandate, but you are with us, you stakeholders, you have to support us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Bersales. Be visible, be ready. And now also the academia also have great data that they already collected about aging, about PSA, and then that we can also, both of us, every one of us can benefit from these data, from those caring. Since we still have a little bit more time, we have one last round, a very quick question of how can we move forward to adopting the harness a whole society approach, and then what kind of partnership, successful partnership, to engage a really whole society approach to harness the power of data. Now, this round, can we start with Mr. Park?
Yeah, I think that there are certain roles that each stakeholder can play here, right? And based on the speech from the diverse group, I found there are different roles. I think what is important is to create a quick success story for the certain areas. Maybe we may not be able to achieve a lot of things for the short time, right? But maybe for certain areas, I think if we can make a good success stories, I think that will incentivize other people to join this initiative as well. So I think that would be one idea. Yeah.
Thank you. And then Ms. Fu?
I think for this whole of society data system to really emerge, the different data stakeholders need to understand each other, learn from each other, and fully tap into the comparative advantage in this complex relationship. So that kind of learning together is absolutely critical for us to find any viable practical solutions in different areas. So I value such a regional forum, but I think we need to be much more proactive, engaging.
Thank you, proactive, engaging. And Ms. Bersales, what would you be to take?
Let us continue the discussions, the conversations at the international, national, but subnational level. This is the right time really to go down to the grassroots. Thank you.
Thank you. Going to the grassroots as well. And also Mr. Manullang.
Yeah. It's a must win-win situation for everybody, for the stakeholder. Then if it is a win-win situation, then it's a win for everybody. I think that's my point of view.
Yes. Thank you to all our speakers for their idea, for their invaluable insights on how traditional data, on different ways on what we have here about all stakeholders that combine together to tackle complex, multifaceted issues, to enhancing our understanding, getting more data for evidence-based solutions. That we also explore how all actors are really proactive into contributing data, attracting investment, and guiding business strategies, and advancing research in across disciplines. And today, we highlighted the vast opportunities of national statistic offices to expand their reach and impact for the meaningful engagement with stakeholders beyond government, from academia, private sector, civil society, and also development partners. From innovative partnerships to successful real-world example, we have seen how inclusivity and collaboration can truly strengthen the statistical systems and enhance the societal values for everyone. We need to think this world is our home, and we need partnership from all of us, for all stakeholders, to create the unbiased data, more disaggregated data, equitable data, gender data, children data, youth data, and the private sector data, disability data that will foster a sustainable future that leaves no one behind. To invest in data, invest in people, invest in youth, and that we can really turn our hope into action. And thank you to our speakers again for sharing your insights and ideas to build a more agile and inclusive statistical systems for everyone and for everywhere. And thank you. And now I hand back to the chair.
Thank you. Thank you.